Let me ask you, what can you do to be engaging, no matter what it is you're talking about? Are there a couple of tools, or 2 or 3 or 4 tools that you can use, whatever you're doing, that will make you much more engaging? Let me share with those really quick, some really quick tools that you can use no matter what it is you're talking about. Even if you're at Sunday school and you're teaching, or you're doing this online course, or you're spending time with your team and you're just speaking with your team. So, some of these tools are just marvelous because they work so well, and you can use them in every single case. Number one thing, vary your speed, vary your volume, and vary your tone. Vary your speed, vary your volume, and vary your tone. That's it. That's not that cool, right? It's not a big deal. But here's the way it works, is it makes such a difference, because if I asked you, when we came over and we said, okay, we're going to watch a bunch of speeches and we're going to pick out the ones that are really terrible, that we can't stand to watch, that we just hate. If we watched them, and we've done this in my company, we watched them and then we looked at them at the end and we said, what do these have in common? One word: monotone. That is, they say every sentence at exactly the same pace, at exactly the same volume, in a very drab voice. Monotone is awful. There's no way that you are going to engage your audience if you're monotone. But hey, we got 3 quick tools. We can vary our speed, we can vary our volume, and we can vary our tone. So, varying our speed. We'll do this in class. A lot of times we'll put up the alphabet. We can do this with you right now. Let's put up the alphabet, and then you read part of it fast. You say, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then part of it slow. H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. Now, all of a sudden, you've taken one of the most boring the boring things in the world, and you've made it much more exciting because of nothing more than varying your speed. Let's do that again. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. That one thing. So now, whatever it is you're doing, whatever it is you're presenting on, if you will just say some of it fast. Hey, we got up this morning. We flew in here from Detroit. We drove all the way across town in the snow, and we got here. And guess what? We're having a great day. Some things fast and some things slow. Vary your volume. Just say some things louder than others. Just say some things louder than other things. So, for instance, back to the alphabet, you might say A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. All of a sudden, that's much more exciting. Say some of the things fast and some slow, some loud and some soft, and then tone. You know what tone is, don't you? Tone is like this. I get excited and my voice gets up here, but then other times I'll bring my voice down here. Now, neither one of those, neither the high tone or low tone is good. Neither the fast nor the slow is good. I'm not saying any one of them is good or bad. What I'm saying is that people will become more engaged if they hear the difference. If they hear you do one and then the other. So with the high tone, that number of years ago, we had some political candidates. And for whatever reason, they didn't think the microphones worked or something, and they ended up delivering all of their remarks way up here. My fellow Americans, if we're going to make the kind of difference that we want to make in our lives, that's horrible. So even though a high tone is good, a continuous high tone is just as horrible as a continuous low tone. So it is the difference between that makes it interesting. I'll give you an example of this. Do you ever pick up your kids in the car line at school? Right? They get in the back seat and you say, how was your day? Okay. What'd you learn? Nothing. See, that's kind of a low tone because it shows no excitement at all. And the next day you pick them up and you say, how was your day? And they say, okay. And then you say, what'd you learn? And they say, nothing. And then the third day, something different happens. And you get in the back seat and you say, how was your day? And they say, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, we had the best day. We went to the zoo and we got to pet a baby tiger, and a baby tiger tried to drink my Pepsi, and they're way up here. Why? Because they're excited. Now let me tell you a secret here. What is it you're presenting? If you're not excited about it, there is no way that your audience is going to be excited about it. The reality is that a lot of speaking, a lot of teaching, a lot of presenting is really just giving away enthusiasm. That we give away our enthusiasm for the subject to the people that are watching. And I don't know if you've ever listened to Ira Flatow and Science Friday on NPR. If you don't, you should. Because they have some of the smartest people ever on that show. But a lot of times, I'm not that smart. I don't know what they're talking about. But whoever they have on that show always comes across as though they're so excited about it. They will say, listen, Ira, we understand that all particles pay attention to a certain set of rules until we come to nanoparticles. And nanoparticles are totally different. You hear the voice? Getting excited about that. If you're not excited about your subject, there is no way that your audience is going to be. You ever go into a concert, and when you go in from the back, there are people in the back and they're clapping their hands and they're jumping up and down and they're singing the lyrics and they're so fired up, all of that energy. Then you look up on stage, and what are those people doing up on stage? Clapping their hands. And they're jumping up and down and they're excited and they're singing the lyrics. What that is happening is the people on stage are giving their enthusiasm away to the audience. That's a lot of what we do in presenting, is we give away our enthusiasm. Are you excited about this subject? What's the subject that you teach? How do we know? How do we know that you're excited about it? Because we hear the enthusiasm in your voice. We see it in your gestures. We see you like that kid being picked up in the kid line when you finally had something to be excited about. We need to give people our enthusiasm. If I looked at a speaker and I was trying to determine whether or not this speaker was a professional or was an amateur, I will tell you the one thing that I can tell you will immediately tell me that is a professional speaker. The one thing that's in your toolbox that is easy to use, but very few people use, is right here. It's this word, pause. The great speakers pause all of the time. And the amateurs don't pause at all. The great speakers pause all the time. Go back and watch. Go back and watch Martin Luther King. Go back and watch Barack Obama. And listen for the pause between their sentences. Listen.
And so,
JFK.
my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
The pauses are what makes that work. It is the pauses that make it work. And the best have pauses that last 7 or 8 seconds. And amateurs think that they have to compress everything into this tiny short period of time, and it just becomes impossible to listen to. I say this all the time, and I think that especially when we're training online, this is true. Listening is hard work. Listening, we're expecting a great deal out of our audience. They have to get beyond our accent. They have to get beyond whatever technical things they have. They may have a not perfect speaker. They may have headphones on. They may be in a busy place. Listening is hard work. And we make it harder when we don't take pauses between our thoughts and our sentences. Being able to take pauses will make the biggest difference. If I taught you one thing, if you came out of this and you said, I didn't learn a thing, completely worthless, but you learned to pause, you'd be an incredibly much better speaker. The pauses are what makes it work. So there you go. You've got a few tips and tools that you can use that would make almost any script much more exciting. But here's the thing. We don't usually use these tips and techniques by themselves. We'll usually use them in combination. And I want to give you an example of how you can use vary your tone, vary your speed, and vary your volume along with the pause and make something that's relatively innocuous into something that's fairly dramatic. This is a bit of copy from an upcoming book I'm working on about authentic leadership. Let me read it to you first flat and hear how it sounds. People connect with the leader who is authentic about his or her own struggles. The leader's struggles becomes our struggle. When we discuss our mistakes, we put a sign out front that says, "Imperfect people are welcome." Imperfection doesn't disqualify you from leadership. It makes you infinitely more qualified. Now let's do the same thing, but put in some of those tools that we've got. Say some of it fast, some of it loud. Say some of it in a higher tone and some of it in a lower tone. And then, as I said before, those pauses are so incredibly important. Let's see what it sounds like. The same copy without any changes except for we're doing those tools. People connect with the leader who is authentic about his or her own struggles. The leader's struggle becomes our struggle. When we discuss our mistake, it's like we put a sign up front that says, "Imperfect people are welcome." Imperfection doesn't disqualify you from leadership. It makes you infinitely more qualified. See, the tools and techniques, put them together, and it makes whatever you're doing a lot more exciting. Now, you won't always be that dramatic. I get it. Sometimes you're talking about something that's less dramatic. But the reality is that almost anything that you say, if you will use the very tone, vary your volume, and vary your speed, as well as the pause, it becomes something that's much easier for people to listen to. Hey, thanks for your time. I appreciate it.